Hey, good afternoon. Welcome in to the 573 report, starting approximately 3.5 minutes early because we're on top of things, and that's how we do things here at PowerMizzou.com. So hopefully you got the alert. You're here. If not, you'll join us shortly, and you will hear all of our excellent conversation, insight, and witticism as we go along. Before we get to that, I want to remind you guys that as we are every week, we are brought to you by 573 Tees, an excellent small business in downtown Columbia, online at 573tees.com. But if you want to go by the shop during business hours between 9th and 10th Street on Alley A in Columbia, Missouri, and really a business that is a great success story here in the last couple of years, producing basically almost anything you want. They can do custom orders. They've got a lot of NIL deals with Missouri players. They have Mizzou stuff, Cardinal stuff, Blue stuff, Chief stuff, Royal stuff, all of that. But they have really made a dent here in the last couple of years in their corner of the market, and we would like to think that we have played some small part in that. But regardless of whether we have or not, they're doing well, and we are happy for them. And we now bring in Mitchell Forty to talk about the Missouri basketball team, which in its own way, might be doing well. I don't know what that way is, but I guess you could maybe spin it to find a way.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to play today, and it's like 85 degrees, so they could enjoy the outdoors maybe a little bit. That's kind of nice.
Other than that, I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say. I mean, the only way I can sum up this team is I was talking to somebody before, I think it was before the Tennessee game, and they said, well, you just never know which team's going to show up. And I said, yeah, there's a big mystery, whether it's going to be the one that loses big in the first half or loses in the last 2 minutes. Last night was actually kind of an odd combination of the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, basically, we've just reached the point where it's like, either sometimes they play well to start and they hang in. Sometimes it's over right from the beginning, but you just know the result. And that's really all that matters in sports is the result. And what is it now? 12 of their 13 or less, or 11 of the last 13 games have been losses. So that is how you end up being 10-20, and it doesn't really matter how you got there. Last night, I mean, they had a couple rough stretches in the first half, got behind. I thought we're lucky to be down at 6 at half. When South Carolina got up 14 early in the second half, I was like, oh, okay, cool, this is over. And then it was just kind of this annoying series of like Mizzou would make a few plays, but not quite enough to ever get in control, and they never took the lead, and they lost.
Yeah, sixth time in 115 years of basketball, they've lost 20 games. So, I mean, that's a thing. It's history. I mean,
also the fourth in the last, 8?
8, yeah. So, before that, though, they had a good year of only 2 20-loss seasons in 107 years. So that was a nice 107-year run. It appears to be over. Look, we all know where it's at. I don't know. We're gonna know at some point in the next, I don't know, week and a half. I mean, to me, it's going to be telling if they don't come out like within a day after the SEC tournament is over and say Cuonzo Martin is staying. To me, that's going to be kind of telling, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I almost feel like if they thought he was going to stay, or if the decision was made that he was going to stay, and like, I don't know that anything would really have to change for that to happen, or for that decision to be changed. Like, I would think they would have said it already, because they know what the conversation is. They know that fans are restless, and they know that people are. I mean, I would think it would be best to go ahead and get out ahead of the anger and say, yeah, like get used to it. He's here for another year. I think that probably, like you said, if nothing gets said once the season, I think probably the decision will happen once the season's over. But if nothing gets said pretty quickly, it means to me probably they are working on ways to get around the somewhat unique buyout / actually can't be fired contract language and make a change.
Yeah, and sorry, I was trying to work through technical difficulties, which I will do again here in a minute. Basically, I know what the issue is and why this is not currently showing up on the YouTube page. It will be there sometime during the next time you talk. But so, and it will be there in, like, look, we record these things too. That will be there forever. You don't have to watch live to watch, but I will fix that shortly. But can we dispel one thing? Like, it's not really a big deal that Desiree Reed-Francois was in the front row last night, or that she was at the LSU game. I mean, it's not like she has to go to know that this team isn't good. I'm going to assume she understands the point of sports is to score more than the other team, and that they don't do that very often. Her being there is not like some great indication, oh, she's there to see if Konzo should keep his job. I mean, she's not assessing what he says in timeouts to decide if he's going to be the coach next year.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, ADs go to their team sporting events quite often. It's part of their job is to just kind of show up and be present. And, like, you know, maybe you've got some donors in a certain area who are going to go to road games, who don't go to home games. You rub elbows with them. I mean, like, it's very common. I remember seeing Jim Sturkett, you know, I mean, not that I've gone to a ton of road basketball games, but most of the ones I've been to when he was the AD, I remember seeing him, like Iowa State and a few others. So, yeah, I think people are just reading a little bit too much into that. I also think, of course, we've talked about people are reading probably too much into the fact that that Desiree's son is coming to walk onto the team. I don't think any coach will be opposed to giving him the last spot on the bench.
I think, especially considering they have 0 walk-ons this year. Like, there are room for walk-ons on this team. And like, making a big deal out of her being at the game. Like, I wish that all season long I had been tweeting from home games like, Mitchell Forty's at the basketball game. I wonder if that means we're going to have coverage. You know, I mean, it's just like, whatever. It's really not that big a deal. I said a week ago, I don't have anything left to say. Like, is there anything left to say about basketball, or can we just stop talking about that?
Oh, I've been done. I've been out of words for quite some time. Javon Pickett's, I mean, I guess it's nice to see, see him have the nice little end to his career. Trevin Brazile shows flashes. His team's not good.
I'm going to call, and it's not fair to Pickett because he's actually been a good player here throughout 4 years. But, like, this is the Ryan Rosberg Memorial Senior Run, you know, where it's like games that mean absolutely nothing. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, good for this guy, man. He's finishing strong.
I will say Pickett has been better during this stretch than Rosberg, but he won't get memorialized in the way Rosberg was, because Rosberg went from, like, a liability to pretty good. Pickett's always been pretty good and now is, like, their best player, but on a bad team. Rosberg went from, like, unwatchably bad to serviceable.
I will have none of this Bosberg slander on this podcast, where we will have words when this is over. But so I don't know. The only other thing is going on is spring football, and, like, it's happening. I can't say that I have gleaned a lot from here is what I learned at spring football. Luther Burden got his number, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say they gave that to him on signing day in December. Like, if Luther Burden had got to practice 3 and didn't have a number, it would have been a big surprise to me.
Yeah, people are probably reading a little too much. Speaking of things people are reading too much into, that's always happens with this number thing. I do wonder at a certain point if Eli Drinkwitz is going to get so tired of people asking him about the numbers that he'll just stop doing it. Because he even said the other day, he was like, I mean, everyone is going to get a number. Like, you can't just send them out there with no number eventually. So, I mean, we haven't seen next to nothing from actual on the field play. We did actually get a chance to talk to all the assistant coaches on Monday, and that was interesting. The first time I've ever spoken to about half of them. I know we talked about that on last week's episode, and that was cool. Informative. Certainly, you're not nothing groundbreaking coming into spring. Blake Baker didn't tell us the ins and out of his schemes. Curtis Looper didn't tell us who the starting running back is going to be. But I thought there was some stuff there. Really enjoyed talking to Al Davis. I'll have a story that's mostly about him and somewhat about Kevin Peoples running tomorrow morning. Enjoyed talking to Al Pogue, the new cornerbacks coach. We did talk to Blake Baker for about 20 minutes. Had a story on him the other day. I know you talked to Bush Hamden about the quarterback situation. So that at least will give us some worthwhile content here over the next coming days.
All right, so I just want to ask Kevin, and actually before I get to this, I do want to say we were talking about Luther Burden and joking about the number and all that. I do want to tell everybody who's watching or listening to this, we will have the first episode of our show with Luther tomorrow morning on the site, the Touchdown Luther Burden Show. We actually recorded that last Thursday night. And speaking of reading too much into things, so, all the talk, everybody has said, hey, he's incredibly humble. He just does everything you want a freshman to do. You'd never know, blah, blah. So the last question I asked Luther in the interview, I said, you're about 15 hours away from your first college football practice ever. Like, are there any nerves here, or is this just kind of, hey, this is where I always thought I'd be, and let's go and let's do this thing? And he said, no, it's just really excitement. My attitude is just kill everybody because I'm better than everybody. So, I don't know if that's the humblest statement ever, but also he's backed that up. He's earned that. I'm not saying anything bad about the kid. I'm really using that as a way to tease that I hope you guys watch and listen to the show. But back to the assistant coaches. You mentioned Al Davis. So I just, Al Davis, Brick Haley, Marcus Johnson. Among recent Missouri assistant coaches, who wins a heavyweight wrestling match between the three of them? Because those are some big-ass dudes.
Yeah, they are. It's between Al Davis and Marcus Johnson for sure. Brick was a big dude, but he was not as big as those two.
Brick was also 5'7".
Yeah, and quite a bit older than both of them. So maybe back in his day, but I'm throwing Brick out early. I don't know. Al Davis and Marcus Johnson would be a tough matchup. Marcus Johnson actually ended up playing in the league for a little while, whereas Al Davis didn't quite make it. So I'll give him the edge. He's got the length advantage for sure. Al Davis is wide, but not as long. So I'm going Marcus Johnson. He is a large man, but I wouldn't be stunned if Al Davis took him down. He's got the low center of gravity. I think he has a fighting chance.
I think I told you and Dave in a text message, when I was interviewing Marcus Johnson, I just found myself staring at his arms and thinking, that arm could not fit in my jeans. Maybe if you cut him out and made two legs, one leg, his bicep would fit in my jeans, but otherwise, he's gigantic, man.
Yeah. I know this is the analysis everyone wanted from our first time talking with the coaches.
Look, we've written stuff about what they said, and truthfully, I don't know. There's not that many comments about that, so I think they're actually far more interested in who would win a boxing match. So, I think of the entire wrestling match. Wrestling match, I'm going Marcus Johnson, but boxing match is a different deal.
Right.
I'm going to go DJ Smith in the boxing match.
Yeah, he's definitely got some more quickness. He absolutely looks like he could still suit up. He looks like he could play in the NFL right now. He's in very good shape. Eli
Drinkwitz wins none of those matches.
No, he wins the smooth talking matchup.
He wins the smartass competition, which is also the same contest I would win. So I respect.
Debate, he'll be on the debate team.
This show is awesome. Literally, this is what's going on right now. We're just sitting here waiting to find out if we cover a coaching search. I don't know. The women's basketball team starts SEC tournament play tomorrow, and that's all well and good. We don't know if they're going to have Asia Blackwell because apparently this is a team we complain a lot about access and stuff like that, and sometimes too much, but. It's actually not bad at Missouri for football and men's basketball, but the women's basketball team, I think, just plays a game and then absolutely goes into hiding until they play the next game. They don't talk to anybody or tell anybody anything. So the extent of what we know is they play at noon tomorrow.
Yeah. I know that part of that, I'm sure, there's not as much demand to do interviews during the season. But yeah, when you get to this point in the season, there's definitely people who want to know if the, leading rebounder in the country is going to be available. And it's been strange. And I know that it's a little bit different when you're talking about protocols for arrests and stuff like that. But to not even have a statement before, what was it? I don't remember the day of the week, but the last home game was strange for sure. But this team has managed to record its 2 best wins of the season without her. So I don't know. Regardless of whether or not she suits up, you got to give them a fighting chance against Arkansas in a game that would almost certainly punch their ticket. It might be punched regardless, but if you beat Arkansas, you have no worries going into Selection Sunday.
Right, and I'm not even really so much talking about Asia. Like, whatever, they can say whatever they want to or not say whatever they want to, but like to go to the SEC tournament where they fully know there's only one media outlet that's probably going to be down there, and to not have like a Zoom before you leave, that's like, I don't know. I've always found like Brian Smith, look, he's been, I don't think he complains about coverage or lack of coverage they get or anything, but like he's always been open to doing anything, and they always, now I'm not going to pretend we always cover it or anything like that. We don't. Every now and then we do. I mean, you know, I've done a couple things with Brian. I talked to Jaden Cox a few years ago. Like if something big's happening, we'll a thing with Ben Askren, sure. But I'm not going to pretend we do it every time. But like he's always made himself available. You know, I remember Tim Jameson in 2007 when all of a sudden, like I hadn't covered a baseball game all year and most people hadn't, and they were hosting super regionals and we all showed up. And like literally the first thing he said after they lost super regionals in a heartbreaking game against Louisville was, I just want to thank all you guys for being here. Like I think there's a balance to, yeah, you understand, you want more coverage, but also you understand that it's not always there. But like part of the way to get it is to provide a little bit more, and I just find it weird. Like I'm sure this is coming off as whiny and like I'm demanding women's basketball coverage, which I fully have not done. But it's right now that's what Missouri fans should be excited about, and I don't think much excitement is being generated about it.
Those of us who know you are not distraught that you don't have to write a women's basketball story.
But we have an intern that can write those, you know.
Yeah.
And AU Stock is asking if we know if Blackwell is possibly looking to transfer with what happened. Look, I don't know. I mean, sure, like legitimately, I think it's possible everybody could legitimately transfer, not because it's Asia Blackwell or what's happened, just because, like, I talked to Tiger Club this week, and I was saying that I've talked to people in college football who have told me legitimately, like, guys will have a good week of practice and go into the coaches' offices and say, hey, I've been really good in practice this week. I might be looking at transfer, and I need some NIL deals. Like, that's where college football is, man. It's crazy. That's where college sports is, and it's insane.
Yeah, no, the way you have to approach it right now is if the player has not transferred before and has a way to transfer and have immediate eligibility, there's like a 50-50 chance he or she is gone. And that's just, I mean, it's not a commentary on like any, you know, I know that people like to, you know, forecast and guess, and, you know, that's all we have to do in times like this is like, oh, which players might be back, which players might not. But like, it's really just, I mean, it's truly a toss up. And especially, you know, I know part of it's happened on the men's basketball side where like, I mean, we don't even know who the coach is going to be and who he's going to want back and what players are going to, you know, gel with him. So yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to forecast. We'll wait and see. That's kind of my attitude towards it.
Right. It's legitimately every player on every team is a free agent every single year. That's where we're at in college sports. And I think it just occurred to me, like the last couple classes of kids had their recruitments completely wrecked by COVID and part of their college careers completely wrecked by COVID. So the payback is now you just, like, you can get NIL and you can go anywhere you want and you can be a free agent every year. So it all ends up even in the end.
Yeah, except for the fact that, you know, just there's the lack of spots because they basically are trying to fit 5 classes into 4. And so, you know, you had about 4 years worth of recruits that we haven't gotten through all 4 years yet, where they didn't take as many high school kids as they normally would. But yes, the ones who it's like a 20 class of 2021 who never really got to take visits. Now they're just all transferring and taking visits then.
Yeah, take visits all the time. Visit every school in the country. The only other thing going on this week is the NFL Combine. Tyler Beatty's going to work out tomorrow. I think Caleb Evans is Sunday. Like, just like big picture, NFL Combine, your interest level 1 to 10 is what?
Is there a negative option? I mean, it's low. It's extremely low. I know some people geek out about it. I've never been one to get too hype about pre-draft stuff. I'll look and see who people are saying my team might pick in the first round, and usually I'm like, oh, no, that doesn't excite me, and that's about it. So yeah, no, I'm not too big on the combine.
If I covered the combine, I would be happy because I could eat at St. Elmo's and at Shapiro's. But other than that, I mean, whatever. I don't need to watch people. The only things I like is, like, if you see somebody who's crazy slow, that's it. Like Tom Brady's 40 is cool.
Right.
Like Chris Jones' balls fell out of his shorts running the 40. Like, I don't really want to see it, but it was at least a memorable story. But other than that, I don't care at all.
Right, I'll let Twitter bring a few highlights to me that I will see and acknowledge, and that is bad. I will not watch anything live or anything like that.
The only thing I like about the combine is seeing all these kids who, like, out of high school reported running a 4.29. Like 4 years later at the combine, they're running a 4.51, and it's like, oh man, that strength and conditioning program must have sucked because they're like way slower than they were 4 years ago.
The number of kids who've told me they ran a 4.3 or 4.40 is unbelievable, because I was like, wow, well, you should go to the NFL right now. You will not do that if it is really timed.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we get spring football again tomorrow. We'll be there. Women's basketball tomorrow. One thing that I just learned on Twitter last night, which is, again, kind of goes to, I don't know, maybe there are people who are supposed to do publicity for these type of things. The Missouri Elite Eight team from 2002 is going to be honored during the Georgia basketball game on Sunday, or on Saturday, I should say. I don't know exactly who's going to be there, but like that was a Clarence Gilbert, Arthur Johnson team. So like for old guys like me, that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all, so that's news to me. I'll probably during that time be visiting with Tom Crean, delivering him an edible arrangement. So
yeah, I mean, have you written Tom Crean a farewell poem?
Not yet. I'm working on it. I've done a few drafts, but it's just not good enough yet.
For those who don't know, the Forty family is, I mean, Tom Crean, like he's the biggest fan of your family that's not actually in your family, right?
Oh, he's probably a bigger fan than several of our cousins. Yeah, for sure. He's I don't know. Tom Green's like genuinely a super nice dude, but he's really intense about everything he does, including being a nice dude. And him and my dad were friends from way back when he was coaching at Western Kentucky. My dad was at the Louisville Courier-Journal, and now he just knows everything about my life, and it's kind of weird.
I honestly think that, like, your dad theoretically could come cover this game and it would make some sense, but I think it would be better, like, if your whole family flew to Columbia for Tom Crean's last regular season game. I think that's a thing that should be. I promise there's going to be good seats available. So, like, they could come in, they could probably get dollar seats and Raising Cane's, and the Forty family could sit behind the Georgia bench. You could cover the game from there. You just go sit with them.
That would be a more entertaining story than what happens on the court, for sure. My sister would be so confused. My brother, he understands. He went to Georgia. He knows Tom pretty well. My mom's gotten to meet Tom a few times. My sister, I don't think probably even knows who that is because she doesn't really follow sports and would be so confused as to why she's being asked to fly to Missouri for a bad basketball game.
Well, I mean, PowerMizzou.com will cover Brooke's ticket if she wants to come watch Tom Crean's last game. I'll say that. I feel like this is the best show we've ever done.
Yeah. Should we, I don't know, at least mention that, the Jaden Daniels watch continues and there's nothing really to share on that front? That's the only other thing I thought of.
Yeah, I feel like we're caught up there. Jaden Daniels may or may not be coming to Missouri to play. He may or may not have interest from LSU. He may or may not be single-handedly responsible for a Twitter account never tweeting again. I feel like we've covered it.
Yeah. All right. That's all I needed.
All right, there we are. AU Stock says they should make the Georgia game $5. I feel like that's way too much to charge for watching.
They should absolutely make it free.
Right. Just if you want to come in. We're actually going to give you popcorn and
come in for
beer.
Free, and then maybe you'll buy a beer.
Exactly. So, all right. Look, I mean, honestly, kind of slow times, right? It's calm before the possible storm. I don't know. We're like weather forecasters right now. Could rain next week. Could be sunny. We'll find out. So.
All I know is it's sunny today. I'm going to spend some time in it.
All right, Mitch. Have a good one. We'll talk about things later on, man.
Sounds good.
All right, so that is Mitchell Forty joining us. And look, guys, like we just want to have a little fun. Like we do this show every Wednesday, and we appreciate you guys watching and listening to it. But basketball's not worth talking about. Women's basketball, we'll see what happens. Spring football is spring football. I mean, look, there's not a lot happening. So we wanted to have a little fun doing things like the Forty family visiting Tom Crean and Missouri football coach wrestling matches. That's where we're at right now. So hope you enjoyed it. If not, I mean, if you're not listening anymore, I get it. If you are still listening, I appreciate that. But regardless of whether you enjoyed our blabber about almost absolutely nothing this week, we hope that you enjoy 573Tees and check them out, 573tees.com, or go to their physical location in downtown Columbia between 9th and 10th Street. We will be back next Wednesday. Yeah, Missouri's playing that night, so we'll do a show next Wednesday, kind of previewing the tournament game, and then who knows what the schedule is going to be, because there could be some things happening. We don't know. We'll find out. But we will be here to talk about it on the 573 Report every Wednesday, and may have some unscheduled emergency shows as well. If we do, we certainly will keep you up to date on that. The best way for you to know is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You will get alerts when we go live, especially if I remember to set it up correctly, like I did not do this week. But subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, all that. Luther Burden Show tomorrow morning, same place that you get this show. And so thanks, guys, for hanging out. We'll talk to you later.